Hey guys, it's your favorite Dinobot here today. Now, normally this would go into a community debunk section, but I think it is time we really address the ridiculousness that goes on within the Monsterverse community. You see, over here on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, I've been seeing a lot of this nonsense just go on about it. Now, sure, other YouTubers have addressed it, like Godzilla King of the Monsters. Go ahead and follow his channel, or sorry, subscribe to his channel for more details on this subject, especially with the whole release of Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. And to be kind of honest, I've never seen a community tear itself apart and then infect the entirety of the Godzilla community to the point where people are just thinking of everyone like animals, or every one of these monsters like animals, using things like non-canon crossovers to just upscale this monstrous version of Godzilla, or this rendition of Godzilla, which again is ridiculous here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to divide this into three parts to explain each argument and each problem with this community in general. So without further ado, let's begin with part one, the inverse situations. Now, when it comes down to these inverse situations, we're talking about the arguments based off the verse itself. And again, I have never seen two sides of just a monster fandom tear itself apart. For example, and pretty much one of the main reasons why, I don't even know how this is still being talked about to this very day here, but it's the Godzilla versus Kong Egypt fight, where we have people who are usually good Godzilla content creators saying that Kong wasn't holding back, and then they try to make excuses for the entire fight in general on, well, Kong wasn't trying to hold back at all. He literally let Godzilla have it. When again, it's confirmed by Adam Wingard and the novelization, which I don't know why some people say it's not even canon. It's kind of dumb since it's literally the screenplay for it. Now again, there is a big problem with the novelizations, and I will get into that later in the overall problem with the Monsterverse in general. But with Kong being able to daze Godzilla, and apparently people are saying like he knocked him out, let's actually address this here. Godzilla is massively above Kong, even with the Beast Glove. This was stated in the novelization that Kong would still get ripped apart by a base, pre-evolved Godzilla. Alright? Now, does that mean Kong wouldn't be able to hurt him? No. The Beast Glove is an upgraded version of a post-Hollow Earth energy Mechagodzilla. So, Kong's strength, which, if you really want to say it, has been able to at least stagger or budge Godzilla. Now, again, Kong and Godzilla were not in the best conditions in those movies, so it's very possible that a much weaker Kong, or a Kong in a much weaker state in a less I guess you could say less ideal conditions, is much weaker than a tired and exhausted Godzilla. Now, we know the Beast Glow should be able to block Godzilla Evolve's atomic breath, considering the sheer fact that there was a deleted, I guess you could say, screenplay or a deleted screen section where Kong was meant to block Godzilla Evolve's atomic breath and then even go through his nuclear pulse. And again, with Kong being able to block Shimo's ice breath, which affects, the atomic level. But then again, the Beast Glove was pretty much designed to resist cold, so I don't think that's pretty a fair argument. But regardless, Kong should be able to block it. However, is he going to beat Godzilla? No, like I said earlier, he still would have got ripped apart if he had the glove and it was against a base Godzilla. But again, keep in mind, this still happened. He was still able to daze Godzilla, and yes, he was holding back. And I need everyone to kind of think about this real quick here. How is an unconscious Godzilla a help to him when his entire thing was trying to get Godzilla's help to go into the Hollow Earth in order to prevent Scar King and Shimo from reaching the surface, while his plan, or Godzilla's plan, was to simply let them come to him? But let's address another inverse argument. The whole thermo versus whatchamacallit, Godzilla evolved the argument, right? In all honesty, this is kind of the dumbest thing ever, considering the sheer fact that Godzilla needed 2 amps to beat Ghidorah, and Thermo is an amp on top of an amp. And it's even confirmed by the creators that they don't even consider Godzilla evolved to be higher than Thermo. They even compare it to his critical mass state, to which we have evidence that this was the version that was going to explode. They literally say it word verbatim in the King of the Monsters movie, that Godzilla is eventually going to explode. As a matter of fact, how about you go to this video right here, you know, in front of me and everything, why Godzilla is Kong is much weaker than you think. And how about y'all go watch that one? All right, give my boy a like and a subscribe, okay? And you know the funny thing about this is here, we still have people arguing more about Ghidorah versus Shimo. But again, let's go into that video as we are approaching the part 2 part. And that is the anti-power scaling part. Now, you might say, Legendary, what do you mean by anti-power scaling? And this is exactly what I mean here. You see, the problem in the Monsterverse community, or the problem that the Monsterverse community has started, now again, the more idiotic version of it, is that they do not believe in actually power scaling these kaiju. Like, in all honesty, while I do love their content, or at least I like their content to a degree here, Goji Center and even Godzilla Guy have this whole spread of poison to where they simply look at these creatures, at these kaiju, as animals. Like, huh? Like it doesn't make any sense that these creatures, or that these people, are pretty much saying that, well, we're just going to look at their physical stats, how much they lift, how much they weigh, and how fast that they move, right? Without going into other feats like their reaction, combat speed, the destructive capability, their AP. And again, this leaks over to things like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We still have people like this. And even with beings like, well, I guess I could talk about the TikTok video a little bit. It was legendary Pokemon versus the Monsterverse, like the top tiers of the Monsterverse for some of the top tiers in legendary Pokemon. And 2 of those Pokemon on there were Lugia and Regigigas. And a large majority of the comment you said, the comment I just showed you, were those. That we don't have to look at feats. Power scaling is unreliable. No, it isn't. Power scaling done right by the right people is reliable. But power scaling where one side gets no credit and the other is just downplayed is disingenuous. Both Regigigas and Lugia, which are my main examples for, I guess, for just this video in general, both have universal to outerversal feats. Meanwhile, Monsterverse Godzilla has none of those categories. Even with people saying, well, he was able to affect the hollow earth gravitational vortex, which is like him pretty much affecting an entire space-time. Yeah, I do realize space-times can be limited, right? And again, you know what's the funny thing about the anti-power scaling section is the sheer fact that when Godzilla vs. Superman came out, everyone all of a sudden became a Superman expert, you know? They started talking about how this man, you know, was just as strong as the original, which it isn't. It's not even comparable to the original because he doesn't have John Kent. He's not even married to Lois Lane. And he never went through his white sun amp. So, that's dumb in itself. Then you just all of a sudden have, again, like I said earlier, people just all of a sudden wanting to power scale. When these were the same people that said that they wanted to base their feats off of just size, weight, and, you know, their actual running speed and treating them like animals, which again is pretty dumb. Godzilla has been in the power scaling community for years, decades, centuries, and he's still gonna be in there. But now we're in a time period where people are starting to say, well, power scaling's stupid, and it's from the Godzilla community. But when he's fighting someone like the Power Rangers, the Avengers, Evangelion, all of a sudden, we want to forget that. It doesn't matter if it's movies, comics, or the games. Power scaling is still involved nevertheless. Regardless of what it is, you still power scale anything. You can power scale even regular animals. Even regular animals have building level attack potency. Like what? I don't get it. And again, I kind of know where I excuse me. I know where it's coming from. But y'all gotta start really looking at it as entertainment and not factual evidence. It's dumb. It really is. It's the dumbest thing imaginable. You literally have Godzilla battling all these entities across fiction. But yet we want to ignore power scaling and say that, well, Godzilla's just bigger, he lifts more? Like, what the heck? I don't get it. We're talking about someone whose AP can range from a planet buster to universal. But yet we really want to say that feats are useless? Again, that is some of the dumbest logic I've seen. Y'all gotta really get yourselves together before y'all not even taken seriously at all. I'm starting to just clown on Monsterverse stands when it comes to TikTok. But the dumbest part about this is the size and feats argument. And this is where we kind of end the segment here. You see, I don't understand when it became appropriate for people to argue that just because someone's bigger, and again, this is from a fictional standpoint, not a realistic one. If you are using real life logic to compare fictional beings, then you really need to sit down and think about a lot of things. You really do. Because here's the thing, right? Hulk is bigger than Thor and Superman. But yet we still argue that they can win, right? Let's use one of my main examples. Godzilla versus Dalmador. Dalmador beat Godzilla by feats. And this is Monsterverse Godzilla, by the way, versus Monster Hunter's Dalmador. Alright? So you can go watch for yourself. It's one of my few popular videos. It was my New Year's one. So you literally have a giant snake versus a giant lizard, right? Dalmador is 1,000 feet tall, and Godzilla is only 300 and I think 94 feet tall as of right now. But if we use just size and weight, Dalmador would crush him, right? But no. We don't argue that at all. We treat these people as if they're fictional. We treat these creatures as they're fictional. Real life logic does not apply to either one. They're not realistic creatures. They're not creatures grounded and based on real life living things. I mean, sure, they're inspired by some. But again, these are fictional creatures. They're not to be treated like they're animals, as they've done feats that no regular animal can do. Dalmador can create stars. Godzilla can punch a hole through a membrane that has the similar gravitational force of a black hole. But yeah, we want to ignore these kind of things here, right? As a matter of fact, your own verse also just makes y'all look like fools. Ghidorah is 521 feet. He's bigger than Godzilla. Yet, Godzilla is not only going toe-to-toe with him, but holding his own and taking a beating. He's not getting flat out stumped out. But that's not a substantial size difference. Who cares? I'm being so honest right now. Who cares? Ghidorah was still bigger, right? The same way y'all argue that Optimus would step on... Oh, sorry, not Optimus. Godzilla would step on Evangelion or Shin Godzilla. I don't even understand how Shin Godzilla even got overrated, to be honest. Like, he really is. Like, I don't think y'all really understand just how much wank it is. But matter of fact, let's use a much more controversial example, which I don't understand why it is here. But Heisei Godzilla versus Monsterverse Godzilla. Heisei versus Monsterverse in general, right? People are just like, well, since Godzilla from the Monsterverse is just bigger, he weighs more, he's got it in the bag, right? Huh? What? We talking about the same Heisei who, as a cell, went into a black hole and got bombarded by supernovas, and then one thing led to another. After he and that black hole was getting freaky, And then bada bing, bada boom, Space Godzilla's born. We're talking about the same Heisei Godzilla that fought Yamato no Orochi and Utsuno Ikuzagami and still won. The same gods that are able to bend hyperspace and cut time in half. The same Space Godzilla that can bend supergravity, which is hyperversal in scaling? Really? Again, I don't understand how y'all let some of these people just feed y'all this lie, this narrative that all you really need for these characters is just size and weight. Again, I love some of these people content, but when it comes to their Godzilla stuff, they're just they are just disingenuous, dishonest, and they are flat out liars. Well, yeah, it means the same thing, but whatever. But they simply lie to y'all, and there are those people that'll eat it up no matter what, because they're gullible. I need y'all to do a whole lot better. I need y'all to understand who, what, and how y'all characters actually function. I need y'all to understand what your characters have done and what your characters' feats are. Godzilla punching through something similar to a black hole's gravitational inverse. It's crushing force, right? Right? But yet, y'all community wants to use size and weight. Y'all gotta check them. Those of you who are legit fans of Godzilla and understand where he's been for years, y'all gotta check that. Otherwise, it's gonna make the Monsterverse community look like entire fools. And y'all shouldn't want that. Why would y'all want y'all community to be known as the worst of the worst when it comes to Godzilla? Now again, y'all can argue inverse situations, that's great. But again, y'all gotta understand the context. Y'all gotta understand the things that happen. And then for the second part, y'all can't be anti-power scaling, but then y'all want to talk about Godzilla beating Superman in the other breath. Y'all contradict each other. And meanwhile, other Godzilla communities are looking at y'all sideways. Looking at y'all like y'all dumb. Y'all got to do better for y'all community. It's ridiculous at this point. But that's going to be all for today. Please comment, like, and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.